Mikey, I think we have a radio show. Good morning.
That was New York Vinnie's dancing fingers there, a real close up of him, and a beautiful shot it was. Good morning to you, Vinnie, in Seattle, Washington. How's your day?
So far, so good, but it's early yet. Somebody will come along. It's only
So,
10:13 in the morning, so I'm
somebody will
sure
step in it.
somebody will come along and screw it up before noon, probably.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 past 10, you can see Vinnie and myself here as we take on the world, discuss in terms of entertainment and information, the planet that we live on. And it's a great Freaky Friday to see you, Vin. Good to see
And,
you.
and, and same to you, Michael Knight, my longtime friend and radio partner and compadre and comrade, and I think anything that begins with a C would describe our relationship.
How about Commodore?
Commodore, yes, see, chum. You know,
Chum.
chum,
Chum is a good one.
chums. Nobody uses that word much anymore.
He's my good chum.
He's my good chum. Now I guess if you're up here, people think chum and they think you're throwing fish pots into the water.
And
But
they'd be right. Yeah.
yeah, they would be right. But for those of us who were Harvard educated, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even go to
Yeah.
Harvard. But it means a close friendship. He's your chum. He's your pally. He's not just a friend, but more than a friend.
Let's see, what would another word be for that? Compadre.
Yeah, yeah. Compadre'd be it's just somebody that's closer. There's a your chum has a center of trust
You can
that
tell your chum. You can
right.
rely on
Right,
him.
you'll tell your chum things that you don't tell your regular friends. He's your
Right.
chum, baby. He's your.
And then your chum tells your regular friends when you're down the street. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, I think modern day it's your bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, modern day if we were 50 years younger. Oh, if we were 50 years younger.
And knew what we know now. Yeah, we come
Oh,
to
if
get
we
you.
were 50 years younger and know what I know now. Um, you'd be my bro. Like right on, bro. We've
The
adopted
only
that.
the only problem with the word bro is that it also seems to indicate that it is a shallow, useless relationship.
Well, yeah, I mean it's we've gotten to the point, well, let's face it, there's not many relationships these days where people trust people.
No.
There's such a betrayal index out there, if you will, that people, especially when it comes to people of note, people of notoriety, people who take people into their trust and then they turn around and they burn them for a couple of $1,000.
Are you suggesting that Steve Rogan and Joe Bannon, no, Steve Bannon and Joe Rogan are insincere friends of mine? I thought we had something going there.
My dad used to have a saying call it the he'll f you as fast as he'll look at you. When I was growing up, there was this kind of thing where you were always encouraged to do business with your own kind. If you're
Yeah.
Italian, you do business with an Italian guy because Italian guy come from the other side. A Greek guy's going to do business with a Greek guy. It's just the way it was.
Because you're bros.
Yeah, because you're bros. But my old man always held the theory that the guy who is from your country will screw you faster than anybody else because they know what your points are. They know what they're gonna latch on to. They've had a similar experience than you, so you can't always trust the guy that's just that because he's Italian or he's Greek or he's this or he's that. That's why my father was always. People would say, "How come you don't do business with Quadracci? He's down the block." And my father would say, "Well, Quadracci can screw me quicker than anybody else." And he knows where I live. So I'll go do business with Gus, who lives 5 blocks away, and he's Greek, and I don't care because he'll give me a better price.
Oh, a better price. Now we're talking bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something my dad. That was the Joe Riccici words of wisdom of the day.
Following Joe Ricci's words of wisdom, I'm looking at your T-shirt, and it reminds me. Have you heard the new release of Revolver?
I have not yet. No,
Well, they did a great job,
did
and
they?
it's just an indication of how extraordinary that and creative that period of time was. But the all the mixes and off takes and mono mixes and things like that, really quite extraordinary. And the songs were not only hits and a gigantic part of the late 60s,
The
but
culture, yeah, the
they
actual
were
culture.
they were showing the way. The Beatles were showing us where they were going and what they were going to do to get there. And it was a ruthless time for them. They changed virtually the style of music that we were listening to. And they did it more than once. But in Revolver, they said there is a future beyond pop music. Pop music can sound like this. And the subject matter doesn't matter. The treatment matters. The feel matters. The environment matters. The condition you're in as you're in the place you're taken when you listen to the music. It made a difference in that regard. And I know that Sergeant Pepper is considered the masterpiece, but don't make your list too quickly until you hear the remix of Revolver. And there are things there that you will hear in the songs that you did not hear before. A clarity, and they always find something buried in the mix, because the Beatles always buried something in the mix. They always put something in the left ear. What is it? Oh, it's gone. Well, what was that? I don't know. Move on.
Well, in the primordial ooze days of the Beatles, well, really not. Actually, they had gotten out of the ooze already, and were up on the rocks, drying off. Um, it was spinning the record backwards
Yeah.
to hear the messages. It wasn't just Paul is dead. That's one that people got out of it because they were looking for something, some kind of sign. But a lot of those records, you played them backwards, and there were messages. There were things there that indicated things that were to come.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it was any big secretive plot to take over the world or anything like that. These were just guys that were making music, and also, maybe in John's case, more than anybody else, like to play a little head game with you, like
Well,
like like to mess with you a little bit.
they were so cheeky. They were so lovable and rude at the same time, and that played into their music over and over again in the subject matter, in the choice of words, in the delivery. Um, and if you listen to songs that could be considered too important to fool with, like Revolution, well, listen to the beat of Revolution. What kind of revolution is this going to be? It's going to be a loud guitar revolution with big amps. That's the kind of revolution we're talking about.
Right.
And it's got doo-wop background vocals, and it's got heavy metal Les Paul guitar. George did not play the Les Paul all that often, but he did play it in that song, especially in their video, because that was what was required. It's a big guitar sound. It's about a revolution.
But they were also prescient enough, foresightful enough to include a different version of
Yeah,
Revolution.
the
How
the slow dance version.
the yeah the one that you could really, if you were turned off by if that wasn't your cup of tea, you just had to flip the album over, and it was Revolution number 9,
Yeah.
which gave you a completely different feel to the same song.
Yep.
It was I mean, I don't know if they learned that from. Well, Sedaka had done it after, because Sedaka had issued "Breaking Up Is Hard to Do" as a pop 2 minute boom, and then Lenny Welch turned around and redid it as "Breaking Up Is Hard to Do," a slow version,
Oh
and
yeah.
then Sedaka went back and redid it as a slow version.
Lenny Welch sang to more brokenhearted people in America during a period of time than any other living human being. He had the sad songs for the breakup, "My Heart, I'm Gonna Die."
Yeah, he really did. Lenny, his version of "Darling, Take Me Back" If you listen to that and don't just envision a guy standing on somebody's doorstep
On the stoop.
on the stoop, looking up at the second floor window, going, "Darling, take me back." I mean, it's theater.
And the
It's not
people, the
just a
people, yeah.
it's tragedy. It's tragic theater. And
And the
like,
thing is, everybody in the neighborhood heard him, but he got nothing from the girl. She did not open her window. She did. She's up there with her friends.
yeah, she's up there like, "Oh, there's something outside." And throw him down a piece of pizza. No, Lenny, I'm friends with Lenny on Facebook and see his stuff all the time. He just went through a little bit of a health thing. But it was funny because another guy like that, only he didn't sing, he sang a different kind of song, but yet he also had that heartbreaking thing, was Mel Carter.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hold me, thrill me, kiss me. Hold me, kiss me, thrill me. Which
Yeah.
may have been one of the more masterful pieces of wordplay ever in a rock and roll song up until that time.
Hold it, thrill it, kiss it.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
also
me.
the way they used the language in the songs and incorporated, uh, I don't know what you call it, but there's a word for it, thrill me, walk me down the lane where shadows will be
Right
hide
on the
above
beat.
us just the same as will be.
Right on the beat. Right on the beat.
Let me tell
Lyrical
you,
beat.
I love you. There's that they word the word crafting in that song. It never gets old. You can listen to it because you almost always pick up a little something that you didn't hear
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah. It was a beautiful cut. But to change the subject ever so slightly from the wonderful world of music, which we could talk about 3 days a week,
yeah, I mean we can
you
do music.
you're a user of Twitter. My handle on Twitter, by the way, is King of the Beats. I never use it. I never go to Twitter.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean obviously we follow each other, but I've included you in some tagged you in some of my tweets that for music and stuff like that, and it have to do with the show. Twitter is I don't know if we're watching a panic. Well, we're watching a panic. I mean, there's definitely people who are panicked about this, but I we're seeing an exodus from a public utility like we haven't seen since solar panels were invented.
It'd be like buying Disney and firing the animation staff first, firing them all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what this guy's ultimate goal is. I know there's a lot of people that think that he bought it to destroy it, which would immediately qualify him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Um,
44 billion
a
to just to
lot
put
of
it in the,
a lot of cash, man. That's a lot of cash. Or he is truly a tyrant who um, who is a clueless tyrant.
and why be a tyrant when what we need right now is the leader of Twitter to say something that makes sense to save the company. And
Right.
under those conditions, he's saying nothing that makes any sense.
And he keeps tweeting things out. See, this is a guy that's become so full of himself. That this is really another Donald Trump,
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch, the kind of people who get something or make something out of themselves, and they now think that they are the leader of the world, that everybody hinges on whatever they say or do. And to a certain respect, they're right. When you own a company as massive as Twitter, as key to the public discourse as Twitter is, um, yeah, you have a certain amount of influence, and you have there's obviously the acolytes, the people, the people that drive Teslas not because it's a good car, but drive Teslas because it's a cult.
Yes.
Because it's not about the car; it's about belonging to something.
Well,
Elon is daddy, and you want to be one of his kids.
Elon said buying one Tesla was not enough. Elon said I had to buy two. So I got a white one and a black one. Now he won't talk to me.
Yeah, because he got you into the club. He got $100,000, $200,000 of your money, your hard-earned money that you've signed up for. If you don't pay it to him, he'll come and take your cars and your house. Um, and I don't know. He's just one of these people that, to me, are just so dangerous, Mikey. That they're and I don't root for people to fail. I try to live my life in a philosophy of I gain joy out of seeing you fail.
No, that's
But
a tough one. That's a tough one.
no, no, I'm sorry. I gain joy in seeing you succeed.
Oh,
That
okay.
your success makes me happy. But there are certain cases, like Elon Musk, that their failure is a betterment of the public.
We'll be better off without him and his Twitter.
The world will be a better place without you, without all of your money going to shoot people into space.
Yeah,
And
would you write on the next rocket sponsored by Elon Musk, given what this guy's going through? Do you think he double checked everything? Do you think he fired the
it
engineers
makes
on
you
the moonshot?
suspicious.
Yeah.
It certainly makes you, especially when, see, here's a guy who just loves to chat himself up. 2 years ago, he chatted himself up about a small pickup truck and took 25 bucks or 50 bucks or 100 bucks or 500, I forget what it was, for deposits for this little Star Wars looking lunar rover truck. And there hasn't been a wheel, there hasn't been anything turned out
How about a
except
test
on
drive?
one of the models yet.
Anybody ever test drive this little truck or see it on the street?
No, well, there's a couple of pre production vehicles, but it doesn't take much to build a pre production vehicle. You go, you stamp out some panels, you hang it on a platform, especially an electric car. You don't have to build the undersides. You just plop a body onto a battery.
Yeah, really.
So you can do that and make what looks to be. Matter of fact, what was the company? Lordstown, which is a company in Lordstown, Ohio. They took over the General Motors plant that was there, and they're building electrics. And they are in competition with Tesla with these big electric self-driving tractor trailer trucks.
Wow.
And they did a thing where they invited the press in and everything, and the truck didn't have any motor in it. They just towed it out to the platform, they showed it to people, and they towed it back inside the factory.
What a press gaffe that was.
So, I mean, so because they had to show something to the stockholders, they had to show something to the backers, to the money people.
This is exactly what it would look like if it worked. There you
Yeah,
go.
if it worked, you can't drive it. We have two prototypes, but they're not working. The batteries keep going dead. And in an electric truck, that is not a good thing.
It is a terrible thing. Well, a lot of people would say, Vinny, Twitter's a huge company. They could run a lot leaner. Elon Musk has got the right idea. So who did he fire? He fires the engineers who put the Twitter thing together. He fired the security people who get you in the building. Yesterday, he fired the security guy, the ones that are in charge of all the badges for
Yeah.
headquarters. You hear about this? So now you can't get in the building, but more than that, you can't get out of the building. You can't get out of the parking structure. You can't get your car out because none of the badges work anymore. And they have the balls to call this guy at home and say, "I know we fired you, but would you mind coming back in and get us out of the parking garage?"
Sure,
Bob,
for
can you
two
hear me?
million.
Yeah. They were going to get a
Like cost
sawzall.
2 million to come up there and help you out.
They sent somebody to the hardware store to get a sawzall to come back and just cut the blockade there, and so people can go home. I've been fired and I can't get out of the building. That's cruel and unusual. You've been just got slammed and you can't get out of the building.
It's just a line of people with one cardboard box.
One box,
One
not
box.
not two boxes, not two boxes.
You get one box, whatever you can stuff in it. Um,
What's to become of this company, Vinny?
Well, Mikey, it's interesting. If you go on Twitter this morning, you see people saying most of the stuff is I can be found at and indicates other social media platforms. Uh,
Yes.
uh, it's funny because if you go up and down Twitter, you don't see anybody saying they're going to be on Facebook, which I find very interesting.
Edited.
So no, no, I don't think they're. I just don't think that Facebook would be the obvious choice, or Instagram, which is run by Facebook. But something else. Listen, people are addicted to social media. There's an addiction that goes on there. It's been designed to touch the same things in your mind that addiction touches. Whatever it does when that little bell rings that you got a message, and
Bing.
AOL hit on this with "you got mail." It's like it's like a dog hears the doorbell, and it's up.
Pavlov's dogs always got fed.
Yeah. And I think you have the same situation going on with Twitter. When you see something, or that the thing goes off on your phone, or boom, 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 all of a sudden you're engaged. And that engagement transfers to impressions, and those impressions are what Twitter goes out and sells to advertisers. You're not seeing a lot of ads on Twitter right now. I know the car companies have kind of said, well, we're just going to wait and see what happens here.
Well, the ad companies are as screwed up as every other department. You can't get anybody to probably change or alter or renew your ad.
So I think that it seems that we're watching the death of Twitter, which I got to be honest with you, I'm not all that sad about. I think that there are certain things that are good on Twitter. The fact that you can get information on Twitter, but I think the bad things on Twitter, the threats on people, the anonymity that allows people to say things to other people that are classless, threatening, and so much more. The general IQ of the nation has been reduced
And
by
there's no
Twitter.
net. And what he's done, he's fired the few nannies that he had watching over everything. So now you can be all the more filthy in your depiction of your enemies. You can be all the more ugly in your messaging, all the more hateful in your ideas. And there's no one there to say, what are you doing? We're not, you're off for 60 days. You know, you can't post like this. The mommy is gone. The nanny is gone.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, when Elon Musk took over Twitter, there were a number of people who jumped on and used a lot of racist stuff,
Yes.
probably to test the system more
And he
than.
didn't say anything about it.
And there was, I don't know that I heard anybody suspended for it.
No.
Free speech is good, but it's not free. There has to be some kind of regulation, or some kind of thing that says you can't yell fire in a theater. You can't lie. And the problem is that we have become a nation that doesn't check the facts.
And we're also a nation of people who say, what's a lie? Prove it's a lie. Who's to say it's a lie? A lot of people believe that. I hear that that's the truth. It's been said that that might be the accurate way to go about it. You can just cage it in so many different ugly, stupid, shallow, unprovable ways. So the truth is not very valuable to Twitter.
No, no. What's valuable to Twitter is you hitting that button. And if we have to lie to you to get you to hit the button,
What are you going to do?
if we have to lie to you to get you to pull the lever in the voting booth, if we have to lie to you, it's made falsehoods comfortable. Now, there is a mechanism, because there are some people who are going to turn around and check what some people say and find out that it's false, and they're going to go on Twitter and call them on it. But that's not what happens. In most cases, it just happens that nobody checks. They just, if they don't agree with you, they call you a name, or they denigrate you, or worse,
Threaten you.
threaten you if they don't agree with you. And they have the space to do that because they have a certain kind of anonymity there. You don't really know who it is. I mean, you can say that you're New York Vinnie, but how do you know it's New York Vinnie? You can say it's Michael Knight, but how do you know it's Michael Knight? There's no way you can really know that it's that. Yeah, they put a little blue check mark, but it's
Yeah.
not hard to get one of those.
No, and you can say you're PJ Proby and don't even have to sing. Now that's not right.
That's wrong. That's wrong. So I think Twitter, it's funny because so many people are going on telling people where they're going to be that the usage is actually up through the roof. But it really looks like, it really looks like the email you get when somebody gets fired when it says you can reach me at boom,
Yes.
boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
It's just eerily reminiscent of that. I think that Twitter will um, probably stick around in some form, but I think public, you know, three things are going to happen. Governments are going to have to find other ways to communicate with people
It's a bad
because so
time
many
to bad time. Yeah.
governments were on Twitter. Number two, people who want to get their message out for whatever reason are going to have to find a way. And another way. Number three, maybe there'll be some regulation on it so that what you post or what you put up on a social media platform has to be truthful. It can't. Now, I think there's a golden opportunity here.
For Hunter Biden?
No, no,
No.
we'll get to that in a minute. But I think the opportunity exists here for those who are lucky enough to own AM radio stations all across this vast land of ours.
And that includes Washtuckna, doesn't it?
Includes Washington. Before Twitter was Twitter, what was Twitter? It was local radio. It was the small AM station that covered a town, or maybe even shut off at night. But that was the focus of community. You heard about the barn sale, the barn dance, closing the barn door, lifting the barn up, putting hay in the barn, taking hay out of the barn,
And a
the horses and everything else.
new barn on State Street.
Yeah, on radio. We need you to come down and help put up a barn. You heard about all of that on on local radio. And I think that an opportunity exists there for radio stations and and people that own them to create a form of Twitter on their bands. Now, it wouldn't be the short one line. It would have to be more. But if you got something to say and you can say it in a town forum type of way, maybe there is an opportunity for radio stations. I mean, I haven't worked on the logistics of it all and how it would actually work, but my gut tells me that there is an opportunity there. The sad thing is people in radio will never move on it quick enough. We'll never come up with an idea that says we're going to create this town hall, and all you have to do, you can actually do it while you're driving. You can just turn on your radio and you can hear what people have to say. Maybe I'm nuts.
I don't think so. I think it's the basis of what talk radio was meant to be when it began. Well, it's talk radio. What are we going to talk about? Well, to get things started, I'll have a guest and we'll talk about the moons of October, which are displayed behind Vinnie, as you see right now, each full moon in the great month of October. Well, we have to get a scientist on to tell us about the movements of the moon. We have to get people on to tell us about what happens on their farm on the full moon. People who have had experience of lunacy. Does lunacy actually exist? Does a full moon have an effect on people? What do you think about? It's a full moon tonight. Is it romantic or is it a fearsome thing in your mind, in your imagination? How would you
Well, both
respond
for
to a
me.
moon?
I always fear that there's going to be no romance, and my fears are realized. So,
So damn you, moon.
but no, the moon's a fascinating thing, and I don't think these are the moons of I actually think they're the moons of a couple of years because you have what do you have? You have 12 full moons in a year, right?
You can't have that many moons in a month. Yeah.
Right. There's I don't know how many moons are on this poster behind or on
Looks
this
like
photo behind me, but I know that the woman who took the picture, it took her a long time. So this might be over a 3 year period. Now I didn't count it. There might be 36 of them there.
if you're having 50 full moons in your month, that's too many. And
That would
something's
mean
wrong
that
in your
something's very
neighborhood.
wrong.
Something's wrong. And we'll get back to you on that.
Something is definitely, if that's all the moons in October, something is not right.
And it caught my eye when I saw so many moons in the sky at once. And I said, something is wrong. I think we should all go home.
But
Go to
I
your
tried to
homes.
go on Twitter to see what was going on, and there was nothing there.
No, their moon specialist has been fired a long time ago. They had no one to deal with the moon story.
But Nora O'Donnell will join us from one of the moons in the next
The
segment.
moon of Nora.
Poor Nora. Uh, anyway, yeah. So I mean, I think the opportunity exists there, but I think Twitter is losing. It's losing its street cred. And if you want to know what happens when that happens, just look at Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes a tool of older people, of the companies. And I don't think the thing that worries me, somebody tweeted it this morning. Just remember the guy who's running Twitter into the ground. What if he owned a car company? I would be thinking every time I stepped on the brakes in my Tesla now.
What if he made rockets and was willing to sell them to North Korea, who, by the way, fired off their largest ballistic missile ever, one large enough to go from North Korea to California. And they have in the makings all the pieces that they need. So according to American intelligence, all the pieces that they need, their next step would be to test a nuclear device. And given the problems that they've had with security and scientific success testing their rockets over the years, I don't want to be anywhere near North Korea when they test their first nuclear device, because there goes the neighborhood, as they say in the Nuclear World magazine. There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a scary problem. I mean, you just start to think about when is it going to be that either the United States or China or Russia or somebody says, you know what, these people just shouldn't have it.
They just shouldn't have it. And I know that you're going to be upset when we bomb your capital, but we've given you every opportunity to do this a different way, and you just don't seem to get it. It's always, hey, I've got rockets. Guys, I've got rockets. Look, here's another one. Woo! And he's never paid any price other than being the
Well, no, he has that
strange.
haircut.
That's ugly. That's a terrible
That's a
price to pay.
price.
That's it. And he could have short back and sides. You know, he's got a lot of hair. He could have it. He has a number of choices. But the idea of short sides and back, that doesn't make good sense.
But this is a guy that's killed his family members. I mean, he's killed his uncle, his brother.
He wasn't actually killing them as much as eliminating their influence.
Yeah, well, you do that by sending him to the Archipelago or something. Archipelago,
Or
send him somewhere.
nailing the guy to a wall with a 50 caliber machine gun.
That's not a way to. Well, it doesn't stop their influence. It just makes them a martyr. But you never hear of any kind of underground movement in North Korea to do anything, right?
Never.
I mean, it might be there and we don't know about it because of, you certainly wouldn't want to let a thing like that get out if you were
If
participating in it.
if two generals are caught whispering at a meeting, that's not a good thing. What were you guys whispering about? I was telling him about his hat. His hat's too big. All our hats are too big. Just take a look at us when we stand on the wall and there's a big holiday and everybody's clapping and applauding. What catches your eye first? These big stupid hats that they wear. Couldn't we get a regular hat of a regular size? And that's the last time you ever hear of that guy.
Yep. You won't see Paulie around anymore.
What happened to General Pauly? He mentioned the hats. Oh no, yep, he mentioned the hats. I couldn't believe it. He went on and on about it. Well, you ain't
Not
gonna see
gonna see
Pauly
him
around anymore.
around no more. By the way,
No.
um, we're just getting, and you're gonna love this, Michael. The New York Times is reporting that Ticketmaster's owner, Live Nation, is said to be under investigation by the Justice Department over whether it abused its power.
You can mess around with Pearl Jam, but you cannot mess around with the pop stars of today. They won't stand for it, especially um, who's the gal who's going on tour right
Taylor
now?
Swift.
Taylor Swift brought this to a head. Her tour actually shut down the whole operation. They were
Yeah,
the
I want to
Twitter.
know why they didn't start investigating when the whole Springsteen fiasco.
Well, they testified. Pearl Jam testified before Congress, and Congress went, "Ticket schmickets. Who are you guys? It's all. I don't get it. The music you kids listen to, it's pathetic. Who cares? Who needs a ticket? Just go to the show. It should be free."
Well, it's what happens when you have a monopoly. When you don't have competition, there was a time in this country, and you know it as well as I do, um, that there were concert promoters in every city.
Yes, doing their own
And,
thing.
and in many cities, there were several different concert promoters. There were several different venues that booked.
Remember
And,
Ron Delsinor?
yeah, Ron Delsner. Um, his name is escaping me now. Sid Bernstein
Yep,
brought the Beatles in.
the
Uh,
guys in Cleveland.
Bill Graham, out on the West Coast, and then
Right.
came to the East Coast. But there was enough. Usually they were associated with radio stations. A lot of times in the smaller towns, they were a DJ at the station, and that's what their extra money, their business was. Well, they had two businesses. One was taking payola, and the other one was booking acts into the Civic Auditorium or something like that, and going out there. And it wasn't a hard thing to do.
No, because you deal with the same people for the payola as you do with the ticket scam. So
Yeah,
welcome to America.
yeah. But along came Live Nation, that grew out of, I guess, Bill Graham Productions, and all of a sudden, one company now controls everything: the tickets, the selling of the tickets, the booking of the act, uh, uh, but not just. And now you have a situation where if the act wants to go with a smaller promoter, well, that's great. If you're going to do that in Cleveland, but we'll make sure that if you don't go to Cleveland, if you don't go with us in Cleveland, that you don't go with us anywhere.
And the big hall that you wanted, you'd be surprised. Madison Square Garden is no longer available. Do you? Why? Somebody booked it. Somebody booked
Nor
it
is the
with
Civic Auditorium, because we
no.
control everything. We have contracts and we control. We can tell you where you're going to play, where you're not going to play, and what happens then. The ticket prices go up to the ridiculous amounts of money that we see now. Now, I know it's expensive to put on a tour on it. Nobody's saying it's not expensive for Elton John to have 30 costumes per show.
The man's got to look right.
But $10,000 for a ticket is obscene. And
And
it's
getting in,
obscene when you go and you get on a computer and you pick a ticket out and the price goes up from the time you pick the ticket to the time that you put your credit card number
too slow, got to
into
go.
the machine.
And while he's doing that, while they're screwing you over the online, at the same time they're making sure that the ticket scalpers who they've always been in bed with push the cost of those tickets right through the roof and buy them in blocks and pay cash and have accounts. And the transaction is wham bam, thank you, man, and it's done before you can find out that you're not going to see Taylor Swift when she comes to Cincinnati, because that show just sold out before the tickets were available.
Right, but if you want to call Johnny the ticket broker, he seems to have 25 front row seats.
I'll be damned if Johnny doesn't always come through for me. He always gets the ticket somehow.
Now, we'll keep a section of seats out if you want to pay for the meet and greet with the artist. So you can go and buy a ticket and a backstage pass and a this and a that and a T-shirt for $5,000. And as a bonus, the artist will come out and sweat on you on his way up to the stage.
You can't buy that kind of. Yes, you can.
Yes,
Actually, you can. You can buy that. Yeah.
And you're such an idiot. You'll stand there with a vial trying to catch the sweat so you can sell it on eBay and recoup your cost or some of it.
There's always been a seamy side to rock and roll, whether it was the record promotion or the record payouts for the record sales. It turns out that there was always somebody willing to screw the artist, the publisher, the record company, the promoter, the manager. I mean, everybody took their piece.
Yeah, look at the numbers of people who wrote songs, recorded songs, sang on songs, and got nothing for it.
Got nothing because they were doing business in the way the business was done.
Hey, kid, I have your name in every jukebox in Brooklyn.
Just your name.
Yeah, that's not good enough for you. You'll do it, or you do it.
And see, you have choices. You don't have to do it, but many people did under the pressure of, well, what's the alternative? And there was no alternative. And there's no alternative to Ticketmaster or Silverman FX Productions, whatever it is now.
Yeah, there's an alternative. Ask Bobby Fuller of the Bobby Fuller Four.
He's not taking calls, but we'll see if we can get him on the line.
No, when you don't go with the boys have a tendency to drop a little gasoline down your throat.
And the funny thing is, your records really sell. There's a burst of activity at the announcement of your death, and that money ain't going to your family either.
Nope. Well, listen, we screw you complete. We don't mess around.
And I know that you think the history of the Bobby Fuller Four is going to sell well, and it probably will, but you'll never see a piece of that action because it comes after the death. And if you'll read the contract, you'll see.
All right. Once you die, we get everything. As a matter of fact, the car that he was sitting in when we torched him, we want that car back.
It's your responsibility. Your name's on it. So we're asking you very calmly and quietly now. That'll be another 36 thou.
But we care not. I mean, to pretend that we care. This is just, the only reason that this is probably coming out, and I haven't read the complete article, is that it's a popular thing for people. It's in the news, and somebody's going to jump on it. Somebody's going to be the congressperson who says, well, we ought to investigate this. You watch. This investigation will never go anywhere because I don't know it for a fact. I haven't looked, but I would bet you that there are a number of contributions that go to lawmakers, both Democratic and Republican.
Whatever you got to do.
If you want free tickets to a show, you know the guy in town to call.
Well, part of the reason this came into the spotlight was not only the questionable ongoing business practices of Ticketmaster, but the fact that Taylor goes on a major national tour for the first time in a while, releases a new album, and their computers completely crash, and they cannot service people who are willing to play the game, willing to play the Ticketmaster game, are being shut out because their ability to handle that kind of traffic simply wasn't there. Now, you can't say that they didn't have warning. They knew what the response was going to be. They knew it was like, for so many of the young girls of America, this is like the Beatles coming to town.
Right.
She is a giant star, a huge superstar. The response was going to be large, and they weren't prepared to handle it. And that leads other people to say, well, what else aren't you prepared to do? What kind of organization are we running here? Why are we so dependent on you if your system doesn't work?
Well, what I mean, the question then becomes, why does the system crash? Does the system crash solely because there's too much of a demand to buy tickets? Or does the system crash because your dynamic pricing model is moving things around so much that when that person does get the access and does get in and does log on to a ticket that's $300, that the mechanism that sends that ticket from 300 to 1,000 in the time that you put your credit card number in there, is that the reason that it's crashing?
Because it takes so long for one order to
Because
go
it
through.
takes so long to do that, that your system is not set up to do that on that massive of a scale.
And you're asking everyone to put in vital information and make choices while they're online, and that takes time. And the load on the servers, or some weakened point of the system, just wasn't up to it. But what I'm saying is they're used to trying to deal with 60,000, 100,000, 300,000, 600,000 people online at one time, all trying to buy tickets in different cities. Now, if their system is not ready for that, then why should they be in charge?
Well, the problem is, and what Ticketmaster will tell you, I'm sure, is that, well, okay, we won't do it anymore. Go try to buy a ticket. But the reality is that if you return the tickets to the venues that book these artists, they probably are much better at handling ticket sales.
Well, I like your first idea. Why not put Taylor Swift in charge? Taylor's tickets will probably run smoother and better and more efficiently for all the artists that are touring the country. So if I had a band and I had a choice between going with Ticketmaster or Taylor's tickets, I'd give Taylor's tickets a shot for my
Well,
national
that's it.
tour.
You should have a choice, and you don't. Uh, Back in the Bay Area, I seem to remember that you could go to Bass, or you could, the Bay Area seat service there, or you could go to the venue and buy tickets at the venue.
Or
And
go to Amoeba Records and buy them on the counter.
right, or buy them at the counter. And when Ticketron first started, if you remember, you used to be able to go to the record store and buy the tickets then, and there was a line at the record store. But that was okay. I didn't mind waiting in that line. Theoretically, this is supposed to be a great system. You pick up your phone, you boom, 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 and you buy a ticket. But
I like the boom, 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 boom. Quite frankly, it's the
yeah,
best part about the process.
but I don't know. You met people online. You hung out. I remember when I hung out online on Market Street at the Record Factory for Bruce tickets. We met a bunch of really cool people. A couple of people I'm still friends with today. Uh, it was a different time and a different place. Today, if you did that, you'd probably have some people come by and rob everybody online.
Or drive their car through them.
Yeah, or shoot them or something. Or something. Um, so I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
I'm sorry that the Congress is investigating, because the first part of the problem is going to be getting them to understand the problem. Well, what's this whole ticket thing? Why do you need a ticket anyway? Can't you just say, I'm good for it and get in to see the show? It's just a show.
Yeah.
It's just some kind of a show.
Well,
Explain that to me.
it'll be interesting to see if Congress does anything, because they're going to be too busy, um, trying to indict or trying to go after Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or whoever they think that they can go after. It's amazing to me. The the Republicans, over the last 2 days, have completely gone tone deaf
Yeah, they have no idea what they're
on what
doing.
this country wants. If this is not the party of revenge, and it's been the party of revenge since Nixon.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still not satisfied that they got even for Nixon. But the just the insanity of what they come up with. It's not we stand up there and we're going to help the people.
No,
We're
don't
gonna
misunderstand us.
get this inflation under control. We're
No, we're
gonna
not
get
doing that.
this or that or the other thing.
No.
We're gonna start investigations. We're gonna investigate. The average person. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I stand beside myself when I hear this stuff because
Well, Denny, you know that this is exactly what they were just told through the vote across America that America was sick of, that America
right,
didn't want. And that's why the headline that I read somewhere today is GOP strikes out on first day. Because instead of saying, here's what we're going to do to help America, here's what we're going to do to structure a better life for Americans, here's what we're going to do to get your vote the next time. We're going to help you in the following ways. We're going to get Hunter Biden, then we're going to get Hunter Biden, and then we're having more hearings about Hunter Biden and things he did that we didn't get him for. And then we'll get Joe Biden because we'll impeach him. And who else? Oh, the head of the Department of Justice. We have to get the Attorney General too. Why? Well, he sort of irritated us. He picked on us. He was mean. He said things. He meant harm. We don't forget that.
I only hope that while they're investigating, they start investigating Jim Jordan and his role in that little thing that supposedly went on in Ohio State.
Abuse of the sexual variety.
He may be the Jerry Sandusky of Ohio, or he may have known about it.
Part of the Jerry Sandusky club that was Ohio had a membership, and of course Penn State. I don't remember the other schools. I don't want to mention them.
I just, at what point do these people listen to America and say we're tired of these investigations? We're tired of trying to find. Listen, I'm even tired of the Trump investigations. To be honest with you, I would say if this son of a bitch just went away, I'd call it even.
Yeah, that's not the case though,
Right?
because
It's not going to be the case.
what
It's
makes you what makes anybody think that Donald Trump will ever go away, Vinny? I've never seen that in his nature.
No, he's not going to go away. But here you are now. You're going to take you're going to take the resources that we should be using to make this country better, and you're going to piss him away on an investigation that, at the very least, or the very most probably, is going to tell us that the president's son was a junkie.
Well, I think we know that.
Didn't he? You could have gone down to, Wilmington, Delaware, and asked a couple of crackheads, and they could have told you that.
Yeah, we see him. We know him.
But as a, as
Was
a
that
person who,
was that his thing? By the way, was it crack that he
I,
was?
I don't know what it was.
I don't know either.
Um, what's Uday's and Kusei's excuse?
They were abused by their father, and they never felt they had his love.
Yeah. Well, at least Ivanka did the smart thing. She
She
said, "I
voted
don't
with
want
her
any
feet.
part of this crap.
She ankled the campaign.
I'm getting out of here because I know this isn't going to be like the last time. The crap is going to hit the fan. I've had enough of being a princess."
And it's not working for us. This whole idea of being kings and queens in the royal family, it's breaking down a little bit. And Daddy is in trouble far more than he realizes. And consequently, we want to buy that. We heard about a place called Bimini, and it looks nice. It looks nice in the brochure.
A guy on the radio there up in Seattle has said the words Bimini enough times that we have looked into it.
It
We've
tested
called
well.
back Lake Powell III, and he says, "Come on down." There used to be a guy, come on down. Everybody thinks of The Price is Right, but there used to be a guy that ran commercials in New York in the 60s named Jim Dooley. And Jim Dooley worked for the Florida Board of Tourism, I guess it was.
Well, he
And
wanted you to
so
come on
starting
down.
as soon as the weather got cold, all winter, you'd see 15-second spots of Jim Dooley sitting on the back of a boat and going, Florida's fine. Come on down.
And so they did.
And they did.
And so they do. Yeah.
And they did. But those were, they were like the Hey Jerry, what's the story commercials. People did the come on down.
Became famous.
Became famous, and then they co-opted it. The Price is Right. The Price is Right. Come on down. But before that, Jim Dooley, when I hear that phrase, is the guy I always think of.
Well, I wouldn't mind going down to Coconut Grove and spending the weekend or 2 weeks for that matter, work on your tan, have some key lime pie, hang around with.
Michael, I don't know if you could give me Florida anymore. I wouldn't mind going down to the Keys. I'd like to go out to Key West and probably hang out there. But as far as like swampy Florida, a hot, humid Florida, it just doesn't. I'd rather go to Arizona.
Well, it's a lot wetter in terms of its climate than
But
is
no less
Arizona.
stupider in terms of people.
No, strangely enough, the two climates turn out the same variety of Yahoo.
The heat does get to people, huh?
Yeah, it gets to them after a while. Like if you know what it's like in Las Vegas driving behind a bus when it's 116 at night and you're in a convertible.
Yep.
That's what it's like. But yet,
if you go up to Sedona, where it's cooler, people tend to be a little bit more metaphysical.
yeah, that's what I learned about driving through Arizona a couple of times when my daughter was going to school in Colorado. Most of the state of Arizona is above 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
There's a desert there, but in some places it's a high desert, in some places it's a low desert, but so much of that state gets snow, a lot of snow, gets winter weather, gets the weather associated with 5,000 feet and above.
Yeah.
And so there's hidden qualities to the state of Arizona that are becoming apparent to all Americans. Why it has such a strange political stance on almost anything you can imagine has to do with, I think, the idea that the Wild West is there and they're rebels and they're conservatives and they're tough guys. They're prepared to go the wrong way and ride hard to prove a point.
Well, it's always kind of been like that in my lifetime. I mean, Barry Goldwater was no. Now he seems like he would be a liberal, but
he'd have to be to get a job. He'd have to be a Democrat.
In those days, but yet, but he was a very right of center politician who
John Burke liked him.
had some crazy ideas. So crazy that they said, we don't want you near the button.
You seem a little edgy, Barry. To
Stay
tell you the
away from
truth,
the button. We're not going to put you. We don't trust this guy Johnson, but he's a landslide better than you are.
and frankly, Barry, if you got elected by a landslide, we don't know what the first thing you might do. I've got the mandate of the people. Here we go.
Yeah, concentration camps, and he sounded. I go back and again, when you look at what he said now, it seems like it's elect him tomorrow as a Democrat.
So they call me concentration camp Earhart. Yeah,
but in those days, you had some pretty. You certainly wouldn't have had the progression that or the progress that you had seen under Lyndon Johnson.
Well, Lyndon Johnson used to call senators and tell them how they were voting.
Yeah,
but Mr. President, I've already said that I oppose that thing. He said, "Well, I just told the press you're voting for it, so that's all I can tell you."
Yeah,
That's
forget
all
that.
I want to say.
And if you want that munitions plant down in Georgia, and probably most likely Barry Goldwater would have got us into a nuclear war because he was hell bent on not only going to and taking out Vietnam, but going right to Peking.
And saying we're in a mood and we're going to do it all. We've been saying that we're never going to fight this kind of war. Bullshit. This is exactly the kind of war we're going to fight. We're going to incinerate all our. Oh wait, is that incoming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When I said incinerate, I didn't mean anything personal about it. It was just business, not personal.
Yeah, it's just business. No, it was a scary time. Anyway, it's supposed to be a Freaky Fractious Friday, and we've pointed out so many things that are wrong with this country because I guess right now, and that's what bugs me because when Trump did his speech, he didn't stand up and say, "Well, we did this and we did that and we did this and we helped this and we did this."
No, he rambled for so long, nobody carried his speech live.
They were leaving his speech in Mar-a-Lago. And the security guards wouldn't let him out.
They were told when they came in that they could not leave during the speech. And believe me, that was a speech that people wanted to leave.
When you talk about a captive audience, that's the dictionary definition of it.
And now Herschel Walker wants to change. He doesn't want to be a vampire anymore. He wants to be a werewolf. It's too late. You can't change your monster in the middle of a candidacy. Everybody knows that. You go with vampire, stick with it. I know werewolf looks good on paper, but you can't change from vampire to werewolf and expect to get reelected. It simply can't be done.
My God. That's just a train wreck, man. That's well, that great song by the what is it? The New Radicals. You get what you give.
Well, he's given it his all, and believe me, his all ain't enough.
Is not
It's his, or as they say, his all is too much.
If you put his and Trump's IQ together, you'd still have no IQ.
You could put them in a cigar box. Remember, Russ Syracuse used to have the secret word, and he had an object in the box, and he would shake it next to the microphone, and you had to guess what it was. What a ridiculous contest! All the more ridiculous because it was a paper clip. It was a ballpoint pen. It was something ridiculous in a cigar box. Well, put Herschel Walker in a cigar box and shake it. Same thing. You can't quite tell what you've got, but it's a funny contest.
Why ruin a good cigar box, though?
Yeah. In fact, who's got a good cigar box for that matter?
I have about 5 of them in my. I've held on to. When I drove a cab, I had a cigar box that
Oh, right, of course.
Every cab driver had a cigar box. That's where you get your money. And I used to keep my money in the cigar box for the first, I don't know. Well, when I drove in New York for a little bit, I definitely had the cigar box. When I got to San Francisco, I forget. I think I had it for a little bit, and I said, nah, times are different.
It's a different town.
Different town, different time. But I still have that cigar box. And when I was in Pittsburgh, this woman I know was cleaning out her father's house, and she ran across a bunch of cigar boxes. She asked me if, would I be interested? I said, yeah. So she brought me over about 5 or 6 El Productos and
El Presidente.
yeah, there was a scad of great old cigar names.
White Owl.
Philly Cheroot.
Ooh, tasty. Now there was the Swisher Sweet.
Swisher Sweet, and then there was your DeNobilis, or as they were affectionately called in our neighborhood, Guinea Stinkers.
Now there's a great name for a band.
Oh, they stunk to high heaven, and the old Italian guys used to.
That's a great idea for when the Rolling Stones play CBGBs. The lineup will say Guinea Stinkers tonight at 8.
And then, of course, somebody would call the woke police, and the next thing you know, they have to change the name.
There you go.
to the. But yeah, that's what they used to call those things, guinea stinkers, because the old
Now, why
Italian
did they
guys
call it?
didn't
Why did they
fix.
call Italian guys guineas? I never could figure that out.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I know WAP was without papers, um, but I don't know what. I'd have to look back and see what the origin of Guinea was and
It
why.
wasn't nice. It was not a nice name.
No, I mean it was a racial, or a not a racial really, but it
Yeah, it
wasn't
was a
something
racial.
you wanted to call somebody.
It was a slur. You
It
didn't
was a
want someone
slur.
calling you
Yes, it
that.
was an ethnic slur. Thank you. And yeah, you didn't want to walk around New York calling too many people that you didn't know.
It would catch up with you almost quickly
But it was also used as a term of affection to people
among Italians.
among Italians. That's why I understand when you have this whole controversy about the N word. People say, well, gee, if black people could call each other the N word, well, then, I should, no, 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 you don't understand. The old Italians used to call each other guineas. Oh, yeah, yeah, guinea bastard, come on.
Bested.
But if somebody else called you that,
Oh no, no, no,
no,
no.
no, 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 that's reserved for us.
Right.
That's one Italian to another.
I saw something this morning on, I guess it was Facebook, in the videos. You know how they'll have a kid who's never heard a major rock act before, and they play the song for him, and you get his
Right,
video reaction. Today, one guy was watching Freebird by Leonard Skinner, had never heard the song, had no idea what it was about. And another guy was watching Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen for the first time. And it brought tears to my eyes because it was so wonderful to see an honest reaction. The same thing would happen if you showed a white kid James Brown live at the Apollo, and he had no idea, had never heard of James Brown, had no idea what to expect, had no idea that James Brown ever existed. Well, these kids had never heard of Leonard Skinner. This
right.
kid had never heard of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, and to see their disbelief, it's like, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on with this guitar solo? How do they maintain that energy level? What are they talking about? And the guy said, did you hear him say a thing about his mother, Mama? It got to him. Mama, ooh, just killed a man. And he's beside himself with disbelief at seeing this major production roll by. And he's going, look at the shadows, highlights their chins. I need more shadows. And he said, oh, but look at this. And then the guitar starts to play, and he stops the tape and said, my God, what a sound. Where did that come from? And it was so genuine and wonderful. It gives you, it renews, chocolate milk. It renews your passion for a better future, because if people just understood one another better, they would be amazed at what an unknown life is like to them. How could you go through life with never hearing Leonard Skinner and Queen is one thing I can't understand.
Yeah.
But to finally hear them and to be overjoyed and amazed and moved and emotionally involved, it just made me feel great.
Well, to appreciate music, you have to. I mean, there's a certain. If you're going to appreciate music, listen, I'm not the biggest Leonard Skinner fan in the world. Um, I think it's good music. Obviously, it's great music, but it's not a sound that really does a lot for me. Queen is a whole different story. Queen, I love Queen, but there's just something about Leonard Skinner that it's one of those bands. But I'm like that, believe it or not, about Led Zeppelin too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a guy like I wouldn't. I've gone to Led Zeppelin concerts, but I would never go out of my way to go to a Led Zeppelin show. I was lucky enough to have gone to a couple of them. It's probably because I wasn't so anxious to go that I wound up getting to go. But, and it's funny because I would go out of my way to see the Allman Brothers. But for some reason, Leonard Skinner just never did it for me. But I appreciate and understand their place and how good they were.
What I realized is that to us in radio, Freebird is a cliche. But when you actually play the first song off the album, their first version of it, not the live version,
Right.
you realize that it does all the things that a great song has to do. It starts with a simple premise. It builds emotionally. It turns out that it's his fault they're breaking up and he's leaving.
Right.
Then they change the pace. They introduce the guitar, and after one guitar solo, they ding 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 ding, ding, they bring it up. They go to race mode. They're ready to take off, and that's when the monster guitars start. And I guess there were three guitarists in the group, but the fact is, they never let go of that intensity, and it's very hard to maintain. But they never let go of it, and so it shouldn't be a cliche. That's radio's fault, not Leonard Skinner's fault. It's a cliche because of the way we've used that record to overplay it and desensitize ourselves to it, and it's a great cut.
Yeah, and actually we've marked well, not everybody, but many people in radio have marked, much as they did with Journey.
Yeah,
That represents a group of listeners or people that are less than.
yeah.
And it's a shame because there were, you know, it only goes to prove that humans can figure out a way to denigrate people through any means necessary, whether it be
Any
the
means at
music
all.
you like, the color of your skin, the food you eat, what you look like. There's no limit to how many ways we can put people into a box and dislike them. We can dislike people simply because they like the song Freebird. They may not even like the song, but they look like they like the song Freebird.
They look like they're in Leonard Skinner.
Right. So we can put those people in a box and say, you're not our listener. Well, Carrie Lake from the
Oh,
state of Arizona did a fatal flaw in her campaign. She saw the people that still respected and loved John McCain, and she said, "I don't need you people. Get out
and
and,
stay out.
and stay out. We don't want your kind here." And it's a fatal flaw.
And just the other day, she said we drove a stake through the heart of the McCain Republican Party. Yeah, well, maybe you did.
Couldn't drive a stake. She couldn't drive a stake through the 72-ounce place in Texas if she was strapped to it.
Oh, that's a picture I'd like to see.
What, Carrie Lake strapped to a stake? Yeah,
Indeed.
I don't think we're looking at the same stake, though.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like the stake in the European village that you always tell.
Yeah, she's just one of those people that you can see that the only thing she's looking for is $100,000 per speech payday. That's what
Yep.
you give her that, she'll go away.
She's the new Sarah Palin, and she'll last about as long.
Yeah, yeah. She'll, she's got the look, and Donald Trump is probably nailing her.
Oi.
There was I don't know if you caught Bill Maher last week, but out of all of the funny stuff he did last week, and he did a lot of funny stuff around the election, his last segment is who's doing Donald Trump? That's the question that nobody seems to be able to answer. You know somebody's doing him, but who is it? Who's doing Donald Trump? And I would go to a racetrack and bet all the money I had on Carrie Lake.
And she has to pay him. It's shipping and handling.
I don't know, man. How disgusting would that be?
It would be beyond my ability to predict how disgusted I would be.
It If somebody wanted to sell that videotape, we'd say, no, no, we don't really need to see that.
I've seen it and I don't want to see it
The last thing
anymore.
I need to see, Oh man. All right, Mikey. Listen, it's
Tell us about your show tomorrow, quickly.
oh, tomorrow we're going to go down to the LA Auto Show and talk to our good friend John Vincent, who is at the LA Auto Show. Will hip us up to all of the stuff. Again, electric SUVs are ruling the day. There's several new ones that are out there. A brand new Prius that looks like a sports car. It's really a sharp. Toyota has spent a little time on redesigning the Prius and making it look like a cool car.
It has been a cool car.
Yeah, I think it always has been a cool car from the first one,
Yeah.
only because it was a radically different thing. When
So did they tart it up a little bit?
yeah, yeah, they did. They tarted it up a little bit. It's it's kind of like your hippie grandmother showing up at the wedding with lipstick and
Yeah.
hair color. You know, she tarted herself up.
Grandma, too much, too much. I said too much. What are you gonna do?
Or maybe just right. Depends on
Yeah.
what your perspective is. You know, if it's
But
grandma, it's it's too much. If it's
the
Flossie looking for a man, which grandmas can be sometimes,
oh yes, indeed. Another champagne, my
right? Isn't
dear.
it enough? I start to look really good after the second bottle.
One thing a trend in LA that I'd like to see stop, and that is doing a super camo painting on your car. I've seen it with Teslas, I've seen it with Lamborghinis, but please stop doing your camo burn. It looks ugly, doesn't fit the thing. We can see you. If you thought you were camouflaged, you're not.
I wonder if anybody that does that really thinks that if they park in like in the woods, you
No
will.
one will see my Lamborghini.
I'm gonna go out and hijack a car tonight, but I'm not gonna take that one because it's got camouflage on it.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah,
In fact, I can't even see it. I turned my head, I looked back, I couldn't find it.
for a while there were people in Michigan that were painting their cars like you know the stuff they put on a car when it's a new model and they
Like
don't want you to see it yet. It has
the
all
white.
those lines and
Yes, yes, yes.
you know that kind of camouflage. There were people who were painting their cars like that. So, you know, it was a regular car, but it looked like it was in camouflage. So,
No,
you know, people would notice it. They'd look at it. They'd be standing there looking, what the hell is that? You know,
when are you going to take the wraps off?
yeah, well, what are you driving? You know, and, oh, it's a new nuclear powered Chevelle.
It's a North Korean rammer jammer.
Yes, it's coming. It's the new North Korean Chow. Wow. Ho. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what we'll
Uh,
be doing. We got our car song, of course, our cartoon, and we'll be reviewing what will we be reviewing? Oh, the Land Rover, the Land Rover Defender, hundred
the
eleven
defender.
thousand dollars worth of go through the woods car.
If you're playing quarterback for the Washington Commanders,
Need one.
you need one of these.
Yeah, this is you know, I'm tempted to start a segment called "Cars the Players Would Drive."
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then just try to, you know, pull up to like the gate at the Seahawks practice facility and see if they'll just let me through because I'm driving a $115,000 Land Rover Defender, you know, instead of a, I don't know. But there's certain cars that, you know, the
That would be
jocks.
a that'd be a great vehicle for a defensive back driving the defender.
Oh, yeah, it's big. It's big, and yeah, yeah, you're driving a Defender. I mean, it's, I don't know if it's a, the one of the coolest things about the car is it has an ice box in the center console.
Wow.
So you can take your chocolate milk and put it right in the center console and drive around all day in the 100-degree heat of Los Angeles. And when you get to where you're going, you need a cold, refreshing glass of chocolate milk. It'll be there, ice cold.
We got to pull over, Vinny. I got to use the head. I had a quart of chocolate milk driving around LA, and
They haven't come up with that yet, but I suspect in
They're working on it, some sort of catheter.
yeah, some kind of thing you just and we'll talk about I saw a great movie this week called The Boys of Bonneville. And it's about
Going
this
fast.
one of the original guys that turned the Bonneville Salt Flats into a race course, into a timing course. And this guy who went on to build some incredible cars and also get elected mayor of Salt Lake City.
Wow.
So fascinating story. So we'll talk a little bit about that movie because I love car movies too. You know, well done car documentaries and stuff. And this was one I hadn't been. You know, I love the Salt Flats. We broadcast live from there a
Right.
couple of times. I love just the whole idea of it. And
Can anybody go out there and just jump on the salt flats and
I've
go
been on
100?
the highway. Yeah, there's
Wow.
actually a rest area on the side of I 90. Is it 80 or 90? 80.
90.
90 off I 90 that you can pull right off the rest stop and onto the salt flats.
And go 120 miles an hour.
Go as fast as you want. There's no speed limit signs posted. The only time that you can't do that, I believe, is during Speed Week because they have it marked off for the speed trials. They don't want anybody crossing. You know, when some guy's going 714 miles an hour, it's probably not a good idea to have somebody cross in front of him.
How about a meth freak with his girlfriend and their dog who wanted to get a better shot? Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to feel what this feels like when it's going by.
Oh, that kind of speed week. Well, we didn't know. We was just getting high.
And there's also a week out there where they people bring model airplanes. And the last time I was there, I happened on this week. This model airplane, flying airplanes. I mean, and some of these people build elaborate models
Oh, yes.
that go up and fly, and they restrict a part of the salt flats so that signals don't mess with the airplanes. And of course, some airplane doesn't lose control and fly into you or your car or.
Because some of them are as big as a Volkswagen, it seems like, these
Oh yeah,
models.
yeah. It was JD and I happened to run into it 2 years ago, and we wound up from just driving by to actually staying like a day and hanging out with people and talking to them and just getting a general lay of the land of what this whole thing was about. You know, this model rockets, I should say.
Wow.
And it was like these, I mean, they always got those little kits that you can send away for. But these people were like, they had, three-stage models of the Apollo and all sorts of.
That's what North Korea should do to feed its people. Send away little rocket kits. You send your money to Pyongyang, and they send you a rocket kit. You build it at home, and you can launch stuff over Japan and piss them off.
I never thought of that, but that's actually I should sign a deal with Revell
Feed their
or
people. Feed their people.
AMT.
Put away their nuclear threat and just sell rockets.
Just sell little rockets to people. I got to admit, it'd probably be a pretty smart idea.
That's what Elon Musk is doing, right? He's selling rockets to the U.S. government for trips to the moon. Yeah.
See how long that lasts now.
Now that we fired our engineers. Did you fire the engineers for the rockets too? Yes, we don't need them for that. We can build a rocket somehow. We'll get a rocket to you. When do you want it? We'll get it to you.
You can call Marjorie Taylor Greene and she'll come up here and show you how to build a rocket in 10 minutes.
Because she's a rocket scientist.
Exactly. I rest my case.
I rest mine.
All right. Well, that means we're getting out of here. See you Monday. I'll let you know about what time on Twitter.
Okay. Well, I hope it's 10:10.
Will you? The question is, will you find out about it?
Nah, nah, I won't. All right, Vinny, have a good weekend.
All right, Mikey. See you Monday morning at 10:10 if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. See the rest of you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock for Drive Time Radio, either right here on Facebook Live or on 1150 KKNW, or as I like to call it, the new Twitter, where people will be able to talk to each other still. That's where you'll find me if everything goes belly up on social media. Peace, love, Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. And it goes fast too, that wine.
Oh, too fast, way too fast.